conglomerates, the doors to global fundraising may slowly be closing, at least in the short term, till legal proceedings reach closure. The US indictment of Group Chairman Gautam Adani, his nephew Sagar Adani and 6 others in cases of bribery and fraud is likely to keep international investors and lenders away from the group. The fallout has already begun. The group took a hit when it was forced to scrap a $600 million bond issue in the US as the news of the indictment broke. This brought back memories of the 20,000 crore rupee FPO the group was forced to abandon in January 2023 after the Hindenburg allegations.
Information that has been provided to us.
Kenya has also cancelled airport and power purchase deals that are said to be worth $2.5 billion with the Adani Group.
The information that has been provided to us by partner nations. I have directed agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum to immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for JKI expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as the recently concluded Ketrago transmission in public and immediately commence the process of onboarding alternative partners, because these are important projects.
One of the crown jewels of the group, Adani Ports, along with 2 other companies, Adani Green Energy and Adani Electricity, have seen their ratings outlook cut to negative. Ratings agency S&P says the US indictment could affect investor confidence in Adani Group entities, thereby potentially impairing their funding access and increasing their funding costs. The report adds that their cash flows could be materially affected, their funding costs could rise significantly, it could also result in non-renewal of facilities or significantly higher interest rates. S&P also says the allegations could renew questions over the group's governance practices and damage its reputation. According to the agency, Adani Group needs regular access to both equity and debt markets given its large growth plans, in addition to its regular refinancing. The impact on the stock markets was immediate on Thursday, with investors in Adani stock losing 2.28 lakh crore rupees, though several companies saw buying today. The bond markets also reflected the bearish sentiment, with prices across Adani Group companies falling sharply. The Adani companies have long-established infrastructure assets with strong fundamentals and cash flows. It says the firms currently have sufficient cash flows, adequate liquidity, and face no significant refinancing needs. As of 31st March 2024, the Adani Group had 2.41 lakh crore rupees in total debt. Of this, a little over 88,000 crore is from Indian lenders. Around 26% of the debt is from overseas lenders, while around 70,000 crore has been raised through global and domestic bonds. The Adani Group also had a cash balance of 59,791 crore rupees as on 31st March, enough for 30 months of debt payment. Meanwhile, according to Bloomberg, SEBI is looking into whether Adani Green Energy failed to properly disclose the US Justice Department's investigation into bribery allegations. The report says the fact-finding could last 2 weeks, following which SEBI will decide on a formal investigation. Bureau Report, Business Today.
And the political war of words is escalating after US indicted Gautam Adani. The opposition leaders, they've come out all guns blazing. Some of the opposition leaders in the line of fire, they've denied all allegations. They're actually demanding an investigation. The BJD remains tight-lipped and said they will clarify after internal discussions have taken place. Several other opposition states say that their deal was with the centre and is for the centre to clarify.
The indictment of billionaire Gautam Adani by a US court has created ripples in India. Adani is facing trial in New York for not disclosing to American investors information about bribing government officials in India. At the heart of the scandal is a solar power deal between Adani Green Energy and the Solar Energy Corporation of India, or SECI, which in turn struck deals to supply power to Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Jammu and Kashmir. part of the four parties that were in power in the states have reacted to charges that government officials were offered 2,029 crore rupees in bribes by the Adani company to seal the deals. Jagan Mohan Reddy was the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh when the deal to buy 7 gigawatts from SECI was struck. The US indictment alleges 1,750 crores were offered for this deal. The YSRCP has claimed there was no direct involvement with the Adani Group and clarified the agreement was between the state power distribution firm and the central government's SECI. Current Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, the arch-rival of Jagan Reddy, is treading cautiously.
ఆంధ్ర ప్రదేశ్ ప్రతిష్ట బ్రాండ్ కూడా దెబ్బతినే విధంగా ప్రవర్తించారు. మనం ఏ విధంగా చెప్పుకోగలుగుతాం అనే పరిస్థితి వస్తుంది. వాస్తవాలన్నీ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఎప్పటికప్పుడు అవన్నీ కూడా అధ్యయనం చేసుకొని ఏం చేయాలో చేస్తూనే మళ్ళా మీకు ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాం.
The DMK, which is in power in Tamil Nadu, dismissed allegations of bribery.
1500 மெகாவாட் மின்சாரம் கொள்முதல் செய்வதற்கான ஒப்பந்தங்கள் செய்யப்பட்டன. அதுவும் சோலார் எனர்ஜி கார்ப்பரேஷன் ஆஃப் இந்தியா லிமிடெட் மத்திய எரிசக்தி துறையினுடைய ஒரு அங்கம், அதனுடைய நிறுவனம். அதில் தான் ஒப்பந்தம் செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. ஆனால் தமிழ்நாட்டை பொறுத்தவரை அதானி நிறுவனத்திற்கும் தமிழ்நாடு மின்சார வாரியத்திற்கும் எந்த விதமான நேரடி தொடர்பும் இல்லை.
Former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel blamed the previous BJP government under Raman Singh for the deal.
छत्तीसगढ़ में जितने भी अडानी को खदान मिले हैं, पावर प्लांट मिले हैं, वो सब भारतीय जनता पार्टी के शासनकाल में या तो राज्य सरकार में रमन सिंह जब मुख्यमंत्री थे तब मिला, या केंद्र सरकार में 2015 में 14 के बाद जब प्रधानमंत्री बने मोदी तब उसके बाद मिला है.
The BJD, the ruling party in Odisha at the time, claimed the deal was with central PSUs and not a private firm. With the US indictment claiming bribery in India, the big question is, will there be a probe here? An investigation can be ordered by any of the states or the central government. But so far, all have kept silent on that. Bureau Report, India Today.
Presented by Parul University, Vadodara, Gujarat.
Co-presented by
आपका जॉय भारत का जॉय जॉय ई-बाइक,
Mahindra Electric Origin SUVs.
As Maharashtra inches closer to the crucial election results, the political landscape in the state is on the edge. Sena UBT MP, now they're revealing plans to keep all the MLAs at a resort. Mahayuti leaders are brimming with confidence, claiming it would be a landslide for them. The stakes extremely high. The countdown to November 23 continues. The latest, the most accurate, the best news and analysis. Catch it here on India Today, 6 a.m. onwards. But for the moment, take a look at this report.
Hours before the crucial counting day, the political heat in Maharashtra is rising. Shiv Sena UBT MP Sanjay Raut has sparked a storm, revealing plans to keep MLAs at a resort to avoid poaching by the ruling Mahayuti.
160-165 तक हम विधायक हमारे चुनकर आएंगे. मुंबई में आने के बाद उनके लिए रहने के लिए जगह नहीं है, कहाँ रहेंगे वो, भागम भाग होगी, उनके ऊपर प्रेशर रहेगा इन लोगों का, खोके वालों का. तो सबकी रहने की व्यवस्था एक होटल में एक जगह पर करने की योजना हम बना रहे हैं.
Mahayuti leaders, on the other hand, are confident of a landslide.
The people who have the audacity to talk about no jihad are the ones who have been propagating vote jihad, liquor jihad and all kinds of ill practices during election. It is going to be the Mahayuti that is coming to power और इनकी तो नैया डूब चुकी है. शायद इस वजह से उनके पास कोई बयान नहीं बचे और ये वैसे विवादक बयान देते रहे.
If the results are hung, the political parties won't have much time to waste. With the elections in state delayed, it means a government has to be formed within 3 days. The Maharashtra Assembly's 5-year term officially ends on November 26. Article 172 of the Constitution requires a new government to be sworn in by then. If not, President's rule looms large, giving the centre direct control over state administration under Article 356. Amid the buzz, Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi leaders went into a huddle to strategize for the post-poll scenario. Mahayuti leaders are looking at whether the BJP will cross the critical 90-seat mark. The BJP's performance is key to deciding who will lead the state next. Both fronts are eyeing rebels and independents. Small parties like Prahar Janshakti, BVA and MNS are expected to tilt towards Mahayuti in case of a hung assembly. Counting takes place on Saturday. A victory for Mahayuti will help BJP bury the ghost of the Lok Sabha polls in which the party failed to win majority on its own. A victory for MVA will give the opposition a new lease of life after a huge setback they suffered in Haryana. Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to take you to Bangalore, where massive protests have erupted in Bengaluru. BJP workers have hit the streets. They've intensified their agitation against the Karnataka Waqf Board. A day earlier, similar demonstrations were held in Kalburgi and Haveri districts. So 3 images we're showing you on your television screens. The BJP says there's widespread encroachment of farmland. Farmers are losing their land to the Waqf Board in Karnataka. And this political battle over land encroachment has become very fierce now. The BJP has accused the Congress-led Siddaramaiah government of being a hand in glove, of being complicit with the Waqf Board. The BJP workers claimed that Waqf Board actions were backed by the Congress party, sparking anger amongst farmers, and political tensions statewide have escalated.
Our demand immediately ban the work board. It's become a Timingala. It's a cancer to the Karnataka state farmers. Congress people directly supporting the Muslim work board. So we are becoming the second citizen. That's why we are given a warning notice also government. Government has not taken any decision.
कर्नाटक में पूरा जिला में वक्फ का खिलाफ धरने में बैठे हैं। हर जगह में हमारे कार्यकर्ता लोग एमएलए हमारे एमपीस वक्फ का खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि वक्फ एक देशद्रोही कानून है। वक्फ एक लैंड जिहादी है, लैंड टेररिज्म है, हमारा जमीन का छीनने का एक षड्यंत्र है। इसके खिलाफ हम लड़ते रहेंगे, आज भी लड़ रहे हैं, आगे भी लड़ेंगे। जरूर पार्लियामेंट का अंदर कानून लाने के लिए सरकार को शक्ति भी देंगे हम।
वक्फ बोर्ड को उतना ताकत कहां से मिला? बिल के वजह से मिला। उसको संशोधन होना नहीं होना, वो बिल एंटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है नहीं है। एंटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है तो संशोधन करना पड़ेगा। संशोधन करेगा तो परमानेंट प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होगा, नहीं है तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगा। किसी को भी, आपका घर को भी एक दिन बोलेगा वक्फ बोर्ड हमारा प्रॉपर्टी बोलेगा तो आप कोर्ट भी जा नहीं सकता। आप कब तक प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे सर? बिल रिवील होने तक हम संघर्ष जारी रखेंगे। अलग अलग तरीका से जनता को जागरूक करने का काम हम करेंगे, उनको जगाने का काम हम करेंगे।
Continuously, we are just echoing the people's grievance and sentiments against this Congress government. The Waqf board is trying to take over all the farmers' land. So we are trying to hear their grievance and reflect and convey the same very strongly to the government to ensure the lands are protected of the genuine farmers and to protect them from the Waqf board.
Which BJP process, the one going from north to south or the one coming from south to north? So there are two different protests going on. There is a protest going on within BJP as to who should protest the protest. 17 people have run to Delhi. So let them sort out this protest of protesting Waqf, and then we'll see how to detail with BJP. Let them sort out their...
Is Canada furiously backpedaling on allegations of India's involvement in the Niger case. Because what the news I'm about to give you appears to be a big humiliation for Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister. A Canadian newspaper had levelled scathing allegations and of course ludicrous allegations against India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, against our External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Canada now appears to be backpedaling. Canada has said they have no evidence against either the Prime Minister or the External Affairs Minister or the National Security Advisor being in the loop on the Niger killing. They said these claims made by the newspaper are inaccurate. The clarification follows reports by a Canadian newspaper alleging that the Prime Minister was in the know of Niger killing. However, is this just a half measure? Because Canada remains silent on the Union Home Minister Ajit Doval, on Union Home Minister Amit Shah, and also on Indian diplomats in Canada since withdrawn.
The Canadian Prime Minister isn't having a great political season.
When our law enforcement and intelligence officials began pursuing credible allegations that...
After opening a dangerous diplomatic front with India over the killing of a pro-Khalistan terrorist in Canada, Justin Trudeau's escalations have now exploded in his face. 2 days after one of Canada's biggest newspapers carried the latest Trudeau government leak, quoting Canadian security agencies to link Indian Prime Minister Modi to the Niger killing, the Canadian government on Friday stated that there is no evidence to connect Prime Minister Narendra Modi or any of his top officials to any criminal activity in Canada, including the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But the leak to the Canadian newspaper wasn't a stray piece of planted information, but supported by claims made by Trudeau government ministers and senior officials.
Well, there was definitely a threat, and that's exactly why the RCMP decided to take the extraordinary measure of making public the fact that Canadians were being intimidated, victim of extortion, or even receiving death threats because Indian agents or agents and diplomats from India were linked to these criminal actions.
And also, literally, Trudeau himself.
They met with Indian officials to share RCMP evidence which concluded 6 agents of the Government of India are persons of interest in criminal activities. And despite repeated requests to the Government of India, it has decided not to cooperate.
While the Trudeau government's on-record claims have steered clear of naming the Indian Prime Minister or ministers, it has regularly conducted its diplomatic attacks on India via unsubstantiated leaks to newspapers. Including this headline in the Washington Post and this plant in the Globe and Mail naming Indian Home Minister Amit Shah. The denial from Trudeau's own National Security Intelligence Agency isn't just an embarrassment, but a major U-turn, one that turns this entire saga on its head. The question now is, what has triggered this change of heart after more than a year of a smear campaign against India? Bureau Report, India Today.
A country rooted in the rule of law and the protection of our citizens.
Big statement coming in from Kremlin in Russia on the conflict in Ukraine. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has made a statement saying the reckless decisions and actions of Western countries that produce missiles and then supply them to Ukraine and subsequently participate in strikes on Russian territory cannot remain without a reaction from the Russian side. He then went on to say, would prefer if Washington DC listened to President Putin's warning in September when he cautioned Kyiv's allies against permitting their weapons to be used against Russia. Now, this statement comes after Russia used an experimental intermediate range ballistic missile, speed 10 Mach, 10 times the speed of sound, to target a facility in Dnipro in Ukraine. And this is a big escalation that's taking place in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia has launched a hypersonic intermediate range ballistic missile. It's an experimental missile, 10 Mach, at the Ukrainian city of Dnipro, in response to US ATACMS and UK's Storm Shadow missiles being used to target Russian territory. This is a massive escalation in the 33-month-old war. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a televised address, warned that more such missile attacks could follow if American and British missiles continue to be used. He said civilians, of course, civilians in Ukraine, they will be warned ahead of further strikes with such experimental measures. And he made it very clear. There is no missile defense shield against a missile, a hypersonic missile flying at 10 Mach, or 10 times the speed of sound, especially that has multiple warheads. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the use of this new missile amounted to clear and severe escalation in the war and called for strong worldwide condemnation.
В ответ на применение американского и британского дальнобойного оружия 21 ноября текущего года российские вооруженные силы нанесли комбинированный удар по одному из объектов оборонно-промышленного комплекса Украины. В боевых условиях было проведено в том числе и испытание одной из новейших российских ракетных систем средней дальности. В данном случае с баллистической ракетой в безъядерном гиперзвуковом оснащении.
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has been on since February 2022. It's going to be 3 years in a couple of months. The situation is extremely, extremely tense, both on the Russian and the Ukrainian side. There is an apprehension that there would be massive escalation in the months, in the weeks ahead. It's just 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump enters White House on the 20th of January 2025. And both sides actually want to gain as much territory as possible. Russia wants to increase its control over Donbass and yet ensure that it's able to get back its territory in Kursk. And Ukraine, against all odds, wants to hold on to Kursk so that whenever negotiations take place, it has at least some bargaining chips in its hands.
С нами ли портал News.ru? Да. Да, у меня брифинг.
Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson was phoned during a live briefing on Thursday and told not to comment on reports Russia had fired a ballistic missile at Ukraine.
Hello.
Yes, I'm at a briefing.
About the ballistic missile strike on Yuzmash that the Western media are talking about, we are not commenting at all.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Ukraine claimed Russia has fired the ballistic missile. The West believed it, but Kremlin refused to accept it. Just like it refused to accept that the North Korean troops were engaged in the Kursk region fighting a Russian war. Instead, more than 70 animals and birds from Moscow Zoo have been flown to Pyongyang as a gift from Russian President Vladimir Putin. A Russian government delegation was at Pyongyang to discuss trade, economy, science and technology. Bilateral cooperation in different fields, including power, agriculture, education, public health and tourism, was also on the table between the two countries. Pyongyang and Moscow have ramped up diplomatic and economic exchanges in the past few years. Years in which Russia has been slapped with multiple sanctions by the West for Ukrainian invasion. On 19th November, the day the war turned 1,000 days old, Russian forces took over control of Novoselivka settlement in Donetsk region. Russia continues to hit Ukraine hard, targeting its energy facilities as the winter sets in. And at the same time, Moscow insists on being open to peace talks to resolve the conflict.
The key here is to take into account interests of our country.
И гарантии соблюдения соответствующих договоренностей.
Just like North Korea, Russia engaged with its allies like Egypt to rally its own power axis. It successfully conducted a strategic nuclear exercise in the last days of October, and then Russian President Vladimir Putin approved changes to Russia's nuclear weapons policy, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike in response to a broader range of conventional attacks.
Update of the military doctrine does not add anything which the West wouldn't know, and does not add anything which would be different, let me put it this way, from the American doctrinal documents on what to do with nuclear weapons. We are convinced that the nuclear weapon is first and foremost a weapon to constrain any, prevent any nuclear war.
Russia remains defiant in its own stand and continues to play its own power games that eerily resembles the Cold War era power division of allies.
The situation remains extremely tense, and we'll be tracking the story very, very closely. That is all I have for you on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.
जाओगे कैसे?
हेलो, मैं आ रहा हूँ। भगा कर ले जाऊंगा।
सिक्योरिटी! भाग गए, पकड़ो उनको! हेलो!
बोला था ना, भगा कर ले जाऊंगा।
एक हिंट तो देते?
हिंट?
बड़े आराम से।
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
जमाने से हटकर बेबाक है मेरा सिग्नेचर finest cardamom seeds, a premium product from Adani Group.
हो जा रंगीला रे with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Supreme Court issues notice to CBI and ED on Manish Sisodia's bail relaxation plea in Delhi excise policy case. Several dead in gas leak at fertilizer plant in Maharashtra's Sangli. Supreme Court seeks Gyanvapi Mosque Committee's response on plea for ASI survey of sealed area.
I've interviewed the biggest newsmakers, uncovered stories shaping the election. Now with Election Intelligence 4.0, I'll decode the trends and reveal what the numbers say. Join me, Rahul Kanwal, as I decode Maharashtra's intensely fought elections only on India Today.
Adani is considered to be very close to Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister. This government, headed by Mr. Modi, is protecting and promoting the interests of the corporate houses, particularly Adani. And now time has come. there must be a thorough probe, and JPC can be one mechanism which can go into all the issues, how Adani has grown to such an extent.
इंशाल्लाह हमें मालूम है कि बहुत चीज़ों की इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगी आहिस्ता आहिस्ता, उसमें ये सब निकल आएगा। जल शक्ति का मामला भी था, आपको याद होगा, जबकि एक अफसर ने 3000 करोड़ के मामले में कहा था उसमें घपला हुआ है। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ये सब निकलेगा।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Close to 50 Shia Muslims are feared killed in Pakistan's troubled Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in a multiple ambush laid by suspected Sunni Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan terrorists in the Parachinar area. The terrorists are reported to have hit a 100-vehicle convoy at least 3 different locations along the 200-kilometer plus Parachinar-Peshawar road. In another terror incident, a vehicle-borne IED, a VBIED, crashed into a military camp in Bannu, killing at least 12 soldiers. There are reports that at least some soldiers were beheaded. According to Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies, 254 people, including 54 security forces personnel, have been killed in the month of August alone, and more than 1,051 people have been killed in Pakistan so far this year alone. Shocking images of terrorists hiding behind trees, opening indiscriminate fire at a convoy of vehicles travelling from Parachinar to Peshawar in Pakistan's strife-torn Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province has shaken the country to the core. 50 Shia Muslims, including several women and children, are feared killed in this terrible sectarian terror strike in Pakistan. According to eyewitnesses, the convoy of close to 100 vehicles was ambushed not once but multiple times at different locations, and the death toll is sadly expected to rise.
इमरजेंसी में 38 लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। अभी केपी के गवर्नमेंट से हमें 15 प्लाटून की एफसीएन की रिक्वेस्ट आई है, तो कोई ना कोई चीज़ चल रही होती है, उसके हवाले से राब्ता रहता है, लेकिन ये नहीं है कि हम उनको छोड़ दें। वो हमारा सूबा है, हमारा मुल्क है, और हमें जहाँ पे जो उनको हेल्प कर सकते हैं वो हम करेंगे इंशाल्लाह ताला।
The 250-kilometer long road connecting Parachinar to Peshawar had remained shut due to the Shia-Sunni violence for years and had recently reopened. Vehicles were only permitted to move in convoys with a police vehicle in front and another in rear escorting the convoy. But the terrorists laid an effective ambush at multiple locations, targeting the police vehicles both in front and the rear end of the convoy.
He had no sin. He was a very innocent and noble man. He was only 40 years old and left behind small kids who have no support after his death. Now we are worried about his family and what we can do for them.
As vehicles sped down the highway, more terrorists waited some distance away and the convoy was hit again. Those who managed to break out of the ambush were hit by the third ambush down the road, and the killing spree lasted more than 40 minutes before terrorists melted away into the night.
Today is one of the saddest incidents in the history of the Kurram area. In the presence of government protocol, our convoy has been attacked and more than 40 people from our country have been martyred, including children and women. It's a matter of shame for the government, and government is lazy.
This isn't an isolated incident in Pakistan. In the Bannu area, a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device rammed into the perimeter wall of a military camp and terrorists rushed in, killing at least 12 soldiers and injuring several others. According to local media reports, terrorists even beheaded some soldiers, carrying their heads with them. According to Pakistani media reports, more than 50 soldiers have been killed in the month of November alone in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan provinces of Pakistan. Bureau Report, India Today. The images from Parachinar, the images from Bannu, they're truly horrifying. This cancer of terror seems to be eating Pakistan from within. There have been killings in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there have been killings in Balochistan in recent weeks and months, and according to reports from Pakistan, 1,051 people, including 562 from security forces, have been killed this year. And it's just November, another month to go. Has this cancer of terror eaten Pakistan from within? There's religious terror, there's sectarian terror, and now there's a political showdown that's looming large with Imran Khan supporters threatening to take to the streets from the 24th of November. So what's happening in Pakistan? Joining me on this special broadcast is Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, former Director General of Military Operations. He's a former paratrooper, also Air Marshal Riazuddin Sheikh, who's an analyst who joins us from Karachi in Pakistan. Munir Memon is a Pakistani analyst who joins us on this broadcast. But Air Marshal Sheikh, sir, this violence in Parachinar, the multiple ambushes, is this a failure of security forces on ground, or is it a larger failure of the political military establishment in Pakistan in your appreciation, Air Marshal?
Thank you very much for having me on your show, Garay. And I'm sure you and the General Saab there must be knowing each other, since you've been doing some paragraphs yourself. I'm sure you must have run into each other, because I understand he was probably leading the paratroopers company that was, or actually the division that was there. And now coming to what you had just asked, there is a failure of governance. There is no doubt about that. And in there, the intelligence. Primarily, there's all kind of insurgencies, no matter where in the world. Whether you look at Korea, you look at Vietnam, you look at Malaysia, you look at Sri Lanka, anywhere, it is not, you can't work against it unless you have actually good intelligence. And for intelligence, you must have the local population working for you. If the local population is not with you, that's what happens that's what happened in Afghanistan, Vietnam, Korea, or wherever else you see. So this is a major issue, really, that to tackle, and that should be a lesson for all our people or all our countries living in the subcontinent. We all have our fault lines. We can all be exploited. And to borrow somebody's phrase, these fault lines can be used and are being used, I presume. So we have primarily, this is what I think has been happening, and that has been the cause, and that has been the reason for what has happened over the month of November and previously also.
Okay. Munir Menon, 1,051 killed this year till November in Pakistan, 562 from security forces. Why have things deteriorated so rapidly in Pakistan, in your appreciation, sir?
First of all, Gautam, thank you so much for inviting me over. Firstly, I would like to condemn whatever has happened in Pakistan. The terrorist activity really has really made all of us very sad, because it's not something usual. Coming to your point, yes,
okay, I seem to have lost your audio. We'll try and reestablish that link in just a moment. Are you on mute? Will you unmute yourself, sir?
I'm not on mute.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Strength 5, go on.
Okay. Gaurav, yes, it is something alarming for Pakistan, because whenever Pakistan tries to regain its economy and just start building up its economy and things started to get look better, something like this on such lines happens in Pakistan. Yes, I agree to what our General Saab has said, that yes, there are the fault lines, and these fault lines needs to be fixed. And these fault lines are in any country, especially in subcontinent, we see quite often that these countries and these fault lines are being exploited.
So,
and
you know, both of you are answering in generalities. I'm on specifics on what's happening in Pakistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in Balochistan. You know, since this isn't a long academic debate, it's a news show, my request to both our guests would be if we stay on specifics here about Pakistan. But General Bhatia, things appear to be so bad that China now wants to put boots on ground in Pakistan. Is that, in your appreciation, sir, a major vote of no confidence in the Pakistani security forces?
Gaurav, firstly, let me say that's sad what has happened. Terrorism anywhere has to be condemned, and heart goes out to the people who have suffered the terrorism. But having said that, yes, for China, the CPC is important, and it is central to their BRI dream. And if you recollect, President Xi Jinping, within 24 hours of his becoming the president on the 13th of March 2013, he approved the Gwadar Agreement, which was finally signed on 16th of May 2013. Right. So CP is very important to them. And if the security situation is bad, which it is right now, 1,000 odd dead, including security force personnel, Pakistan is worried, and Pakistan is likely to force its way to ensure that they take on the security of the Chinese assets and the Chinese interests out there. So I think China is going to be, coming into Pakistan, which is not good for either Pakistan or for South Asia or for India for that matter. And the sovereignty of Pakistan also is important. Pakistan cannot become a client state of China and should not become a client state of China.
Okay, Air Marshal Sheikh.
Let me go back a little, please. Gaurav, give me a minute.
Okay.
Unfortunately, though, Pakistan, I think, asked for this trouble because if I recollect properly, General Hamid Gul was a former DG ISI. After the US withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, 15th August 2021, he made a statement. He said Pakistan defeated the two superpowers. They defeated Soviet Union with the help of the US, and then they defeated US with the help of Taliban. What he did not say was that Pakistan would defeat itself with the help of Pakistan terrorism.
You know, that's truly heartbreaking to hear, but Air Marshal Sheikh, is that also your appreciation? Has the Pakistan army, is it time one for another Zarb-e-Azb 2.0, or is it time for Chinese boots on ground?